I'm Greg from On Center Software. Appreciate everybody coming today. A little bit about me. 20 years in construction. Everything from log cabins through infrastructure to historical restoration and high-rise hotels. Was a concrete guy for many years. I've done a lot of self-performed concrete. Lived to tell about it. So concrete work is kind of near and dear to my heart. Historical restoration is interesting work for any of you that may have ever done that. I had the good fortune of working on the state capitol restoration in Austin, Texas. That building started in 1887. Water lines, water levels, string line, square nails, hand saws, horse-drawn pulleys to run cranes, and they built an amazing building. When we took over the Capitol, we set 6 lasers up around the entire project to make sure that we were not damaging the structure. And the State Preservation Board wanted to make sure that the building wasn't settling and moving. 6 lasers all around the building as well as in the basement. And just so you guys appreciate this kind of work, there were 50 concrete columns in the basement, some of them as big as 60-inch diameter. And we shot a laser from one end of the building in the basement all the way down to the other end. And those hand-formed, hand-poured concrete columns were all within 1/8 of an inch. Crazy, amazing how they could do that. The Senate and the House floor was tongue and groove pine, 1x4. Thousands of pieces of it. We had to rip some of it up because it had started to rot. And so when we did, we went in there and cleaned it real well so we could control the dust. The nails were square nails, about a 4-penny, hand-driven, and if you lined them up with a string, it looked like a laser put them in. They were all turned. The heads of the nails were turned the same direction. I mean, can you imagine the craftsmanship back then? That was amazing. I could go on for hours just on that one project alone. But anyway, interesting work. Has anyone in here ever done any historical restoration? Okay, yeah, you understand what I'm talking about. And yet with it come along some funny things. We were told by some of the Capitol workers before we took over the building to beware there were 2 ghosts in the building. I will tell you that I saw an elevator, construction elevator, running by itself at night. No operator, can't explain that one. And we had a big vault in there that was part of the building, a bank vault actually. And I got a phone call one day, somebody said, "Hey, who's been in the vault?" And I said, "No one, because I have the only key." And he said, "Well, you need to come in here and take a look." And I opened the door, 7 in the morning, and there were footprints from one wall to the other wall, not from the door. Footprints in the dust. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say anything here, but so take it for whatever it's worth. There's strange things like that in that building. We found some old newspaper articles in there back into the early 1900s. And I'm from Texas, so stories like these are kind of interesting. One of them was from a Dallas newspaper about attempted bank robbery in the Fort Worth area. And back in those days, if they were going to rob the bank, they usually used dynamite. And the article specifically said that the culprits were apprehended after the entire building collapsed on them due to too much explosion in the dynamite. So they blew up the vault, but they blew up the building and it fell in on them. So that was pretty interesting how they recorded it in the newspapers that the culprits were captured when the building collapsed on them. Pretty interesting stuff. But anyway, so that's my history. I've got a lot of good stories and memories. And I always love to interact with you guys that are still in the business. I've been with On Center for 20 years. Training primarily, but product development, testing, and a lot of what we call customer support. And so I get to kind of keep my hands in the works, and I really enjoy it. And so what we try to do in these classes is pass some information along that we've learned from other users, and tips and tricks. And hopefully some of you in here might be able to take some of this with you. I'd like to know how many of you in here do use on-screen takeoff? Wow, okay, awesome, that's great. Some of you don't, and I'm not here to sell you any software, but I want you to see what a particular type of software can do in certain circumstances. I'm going to show you 2 products, primarily on-screen takeoff, And then at the end, we'll look at the pricing tool we have called QuickBid. And I'm focused in today on a specific type of project, a tenant fit out. And we're going to have a little bit of fun with it because I'm going to take you from the very first step all the way through the completed takeoff, and then come the tips and tricks, because there could be some of you in here that do bid projects like this that are repetitive. This happens to be a blue sushi sake restaurant. Anybody into sushi? Okay, good. We got some sushi lovers here today, so we're going to be talking about that for a while. But this is a tenant finish in a situation where there could be repetition. That's a big issue here. I'm going to show you what do you do when you're bidding some kind of project that repeats. There are some shortcuts that I'd like you to see in this project. And even if you bid tenant finishes where there's not necessarily repetition, in job types, there are some circumstances where you do have things that, hey, I'd like to keep this group of conditions and use them again. Rated walls, non-rated, carpet, acoustic ceiling, maybe wood ceiling or flooring. You see them again and again because of the nature of just the word a restaurant. It's a restaurant, and I do a lot of them. Therefore, I see these type of situations repeat. So I'm going to also show a little bit about how that might work. One other thing about me is I'm also a certified OSHA instructor. Now, not inspector. Okay, I don't want to be hung up by a rope here today. Instructor. So therefore, come back. I'll log in again if you're going to make me. Because I like to have a little bit of fun here with our buddies from OSHA. OSHA's in Kansas, right? They're everywhere. Anyway, here's my uncle, iron worker. Not really, but I like to have a little bit of fun with some of this. We're going to do about 2 or 3 minutes of safety training here. You do get some credits, so when you get back to your office, you can also claim safety training today. I'll close this one. And everybody understands the need for dust protection. OSHA Standard 27.23, paragraph 6, subparagraph 32. Y'all remember that. Says you must have the proper dust protection. This is not it. However, because I'm an instructor, I'm going to give him 5 points for trying. That was his lunch bag, and he figured, well, I forgot my dust mask, I'll just use my lunch bag. No? Okay, here's another one. Most of you got up this morning, may have been at a hotel, and we saw in the lobby USA Today. Thought it was just for reading? No. It also works for a welder's mask. Now, again, 5 points. The man is trying to be safe here, okay? Give him credit. Now, I'm going to go down to the Houston Ship Channel. That's home base for me. We're not that safety conscious there sometimes. If you need some scaffolding, you might need some counterbalance.
That's pretty
Got to look kind of close at that
That's
one.
a good job.
It works. It's got three counterweights. The guy out on the end is getting her done. Just make sure one of your counterweights doesn't have to go to the men's room.
Right.
So, there, I'm done. But it's always good to kind of think about what would you ever imagine seeing in some circumstances. Now, back to this. This is the job, and it's a blue, called Blue Sushi Sake restaurant or bar. They are a chain. They're in several states. And anyone ever eat at one? You're nodding your head. Come on, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's one in Kansas.
Where?
There's one in Kansas.
Get out.
Yeah, it's probably about 20 minutes.
Okay, this one's in Indianapolis, so I'm not too far off, but awesome, good. So I got a little, some home base here, good. So that's what we're looking at. Now, what I want to do is preempt this with the fact, okay, I'm about to bid this job, and how could I use on-screen takeoff as a front-end setup, or any kind of takeoff program, but I'm going to be focused in on this one for now, to help me understand this job and do an accurate takeoff, and also build what I would consider a repeatable project. So if I move over here to the right, there is a street address. So there's a street. This is in Indianapolis, Indiana. So where in the heck is that? So here we go. Good old GoogleEarth. And this is nothing more than GoogleEarth, but this is using a GoogleEarth JPEG inside of an estimating program to stage and or understand location, deliveries, traffic, anything related to that. Not likely I'm going to need a crane in this project, but if I was a general contractor and I was going to stage this project, you can see the site on the left, where would I put the fencing, the security, the job trailers, where does the crane park, where am I going to have egress and exits and et cetera, concrete washout areas. You can just go crazy with your imagination here, but all I did was go to Google and put in the address, save that as a JPEG, and put it in on-screen takeoff. So that's one of simply having at my fingertips a one-click operation to say, oh yeah, now my materials are going to come up I-45, or are they going to be I-35, or what? Where are my deliveries coming in from? Then I'm going to go back to the floor plan. Right here. Now this is a very simple little restaurant, and I didn't take off every single aspect of it, but it's got some interior bathroom walls, it's got some walls in the service area, food service, and then if I go to the next page, it has some basic, easy peasy acoustic ceiling, and then I see this mess. What the heck is that? Well, it happens that all of the sushi restaurants have a characteristic of a very unique ceiling system suspended from the structure. They don't all match, but they do all have something like this. It's suspended lighting, and it's not some simple suspended lighting, it's very complicated. And it is provided by the owner, but you're going to install it. So you're going to have to deal with handling that stuff, scaffolding or scissor lifts, and the manpower to get them up there and hang them after your painter has sprayed the ceiling. So there's all sorts of characteristics going on here in terms of, depending on what trade you are, as to how you coordinate something like that. It's all exposed lighting. I wish I could have a better view of what that really looks like. So here I go again. All it takes is one of these. Go to the one that's here in the Kansas area, and if you walk in there and take a snapshot, you see that. That's another JPEG, came off of my cell phone. But I can see, in this case, this is a different location. This is the one in I think this is a Fort Worth location. But you see the suspended lighting. So it gives me another relationship of, okay, I'm going to be bidding this, look, they're at least 20 feet off the floor. And I've also got to work around some hanging fixtures, concrete columns, or those are wrapped in metal. But there's a first view of what I may have to deal with attached to the images that I'm going to use to do takeoff. All I did was take a snapshot inside of on-screen takeoff with this little tool right here. It's a little yellow tool called a name view. And it's really easy to do. I'm just going to grab one here and just say light. And then I'll go to another page, set the marker, turn on the layers grid. Bear with me. This monitor thinks I've got two screens on here. Bear with me. running here. This occasionally happens when I hook into a monitor that's not normally used on my laptop. It doesn't, if it thinks there's a secondary screen out there, it'll try to run it instead. Let's take another shot here. Sure did. One more time. I apologize. I won't do that again. So I took a snapshot of that view, and it would have been one of this shot right here. It's simply called a named view with a hotlink. The word hotlink means I'm jumping to another view somewhere, just like you saw with those ceilings. Here's another example of that. This is a different one, but look at the ceiling. A little bit different than the other one in Fort Worth, but still I've got to include in my bid installing owner's provided lighting, and it's a doozy. So again, I'm using the program to give me fingertip information because I'm about to go into the actual images and start doing some takeoff. So don't ever underestimate the power of the cell phone. I'm going to show you another example of it here in just a minute when it comes to actually once you've got a signed contract. Now we got some takeoff. And again, I didn't do everything in this project, just enough to give you guys an idea of, okay, I've got some interior wall type 1, 2, 3, some 3 5/8 walls, some 6-inch walls, basic stuff in here. Nothing really fancy going on other than I have verification by color that I've done and taken off. But one thing you may not see is that, for instance, on some of these, there's actually 2 items. I've got the wall taken off, and I've also painted the wall. This purple line is the P1 or P2 finish. The red is the framing and drywall. And here it is, the P1. And in case some of you did not know this, in on-screen takeoff, if I hold down the Shift key, or Control actually, I can take off 2 things or 3. I'm going to highlight the walls, the ceiling, and the framing. And I'm going to move out here a little bit. And that's right there. I took off 3 objects in one click. I'll zoom in on a little bit here. There's the ceiling. The red is the walls. And if I zoom in, the purple will be there for the paint. 3 objects in one takeoff. It's called multi-object takeoff. How many of you have used that? Okay, that's one that's been in the program for a while, but it tends to get overlooked or possibly unknown. You hold down the Control key, highlight the 3 or 4, however many conditions you want. One activity gets you multiple objects. Good time saver. I don't know if I have anyone in here that does any type of site utilities, do I? Good. I'm laying pipe. I got to excavate the ditch. I got to put in a sand bed. I put in the pipe. I do select fill. Then I compact and do another layer of compacted fill, and then maybe a topping of asphalt or concrete. That's 5 to 6 objects. Once I create those individually, I can hold down the Control and do 1 line, 6 containers, 6 quantities. And that kind of adds. That's really getting the full effect. All right, so let's see. Now, let's move around in here. I've got a lot of things going on. Interior walls, this little grid area is ceramic tile in the restrooms. I've got some door frames, simply I'm hanging the door frames, nothing heavy going on there. Here's another one, little Hotlink, taking me to a wall schedule. And move this back. A couple of other little things that are also interesting. On this page, they did give me a marker. And here we go again. Wall type 1. Now, I've already done the takeoff, but it would sure be nice to know if I missed any wall type 1. Now, that marker is fairly unique. It's a square box with a number in it, and this happens to be a semi-decent PDF. There's a function in on-screen takeoff called auto count. It's a search object recognition tool. It's heavily dependent upon the quality of the plan you get and the shape of the object. So what I'm about to show you won't always happen as well as this one does. But I do want you to know it's in here because peace of mind, did I miss anything, is what I'm trying to solve here. So I'm going to take this condition in my list. All I did was create a count item called wall type 1 marker. I'm going to capture that little symbol, click and drag basically. There's my photo. I do have a little bit of adjustments in here. This little guy right here is a little eraser. If I want to clean it a little, I can. I also have a sensitivity bar. Now this is the moving scale. There is no known setting to start with. You have to kind of experiment here. I normally leave it right about where it is. It's about 60%, maybe 50% of the scale. You can over-qualify or under-qualify this tool. If you set it down to too low, you'll get a lot of trash in your find. If you set it too high, it cuts everything out, or too much. So I'm going to leave it right where it is in hit search. And bang. That's what came back. I picked up a couple of wall 3s. I don't want those. And a 2. And 1A I'm going to be okay with. I'm going to click accept count. So in a matter of less than 60 seconds, I should be able to pan around this page and look if I got all the wall type 1. And it looks like I did. So auto count, sometimes people use that tool to find something first and then go measure it. In my case, I've already done the takeoff, but tell me if I missed anything. I do have to qualify, though, that there are times when, due to the fact that the PDF resolution is very low, it kills this tool. And nothing we can do about it. It doesn't kill it, it just makes the accuracy drop substantially. How many of you have used this? Nobody. Okay. Good tool under certain circumstances. If you can get clean PDFs or really ideally a TIFF file, those are the best quality, highest resolution. I've tested this tool immensely on TIFF drawings. And I had a Edwards Air Force Base project with some special lighting in it. And I used the tool on a page that had 20 light fixtures. And every single time it came back with 21. And I'm like, what in the world is going on now? And until I finally zoomed back and really looked close, it caught the one on the legend in the right side of the board. So under the right circumstances, it was 101% correct. So use it sparingly, but be aware of it. The one thing I will say is, even if it does fail some, the time it takes to count 50 or 60% will be a whole lot less than it would have been for you to count those manually one at a time and then finish out the rest of them. So you're still gaining ground on auto count, even though you may have to finish the rest of them a click at a time. So there's an issue of time savings here, even if it can't be 100%. There's another type of file out there that's rarely seen anymore. It's a .cal, C-A-L. Once upon a time, the Army Corps of Engineers were the only ones using it. They're real hard to find these days, but if you ever get your hands on one of those, that is the ultimate in terms of high resolution. Anybody bidding any Corps work? Good, don't do it. Bad thing. Okay, let's go to the next page. And let's talk about some ceilings. Nothing really heavy going on here. Got an acoustic ceiling system over here on the left. One thing that I want to make sure everybody knows about area takeoff here is here. If you're doing takeoff in this program and it's a square or rectangular room, you don't have to click around it. You just hold down the mouse and drag. That's called one-click area. That is for whether it's square or rectangular only. This program, when it was first created, all of the area takeoff had to be one point at a time. That's not the case anymore. There's also a tool in here that is very important. It's called back out. I'm going to just randomly do some takeoff over here. And then let's say I've got these lights in here that are sitting in their own little field. This little yellow tool in the upper right is called back out. It's going to erase anything I ask it to. Just that fast. Then, let's say that those are suspended from drywall ceiling. I'll take the ceiling condition and double click. That is called auto fill. So I back out and then I auto fill it with a secondary area. Very fast little tool. I'll go up here. Got a hole in the bathroom. Go get some acoustic and double click. Back out with auto fill. Time saving little tips and tricks. Some of you are already using this, but for those of you who have not, it's really a time saver. Again, I'm in an area where I've got wall covering and drywall ceiling. Same rule applies. I take this object and the wall covering here. Hold down the control key. I'm just going to freehand it out here in the margin so you can see it. One click and let go. Wall covering and drywall ceiling. Now, we're going to see this evolve a little bit more as we get closer into the pricing process. But here's another one of those little hotlinks. Here's the entry area, and right behind it is a reception. Let's see what that looks like. Sure enough, there's that reception desk, and back behind it is the dining room. And one thing I will tell you, for those of you who may use this function in the cover sheet, when you're loading plans in this program, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can auto-add a whole batch at a time. You can do them singularly. But if you're going to add anything that's a .jpg, when I click right here, this screen opens up. And down here at the bottom of the file types that on-screen takeoff listed. And there's quite a few: OSP, TIFF, CAL, VAN, plot, on and on. But what you don't see in any of these is JPEG. So to get to the JPEG list, I go to All Files. And I'm going to go look in a particular location here. And there should be one here that is JPG. Those do not show up unless you tell the program to look at all file types. Now, right here, that happens to be our office in the Woodlands. This is Google Earth. And the reason I wanted you to see this one is that if you have or plan to, in the future, use a Google Earth photo, they have a menu up in their program, almost like this one. It says View and Tools and Edit. They've got some similar menus in that program. And all I did in this case is I went inside of Google Earth to view scale, and it gave me this little guy down here. From 0 to here is 192 feet. Based on the zoom level I stopped at when I took the photo or snapped it. So now I get a phone call and I'm on another project, and they said we need a 3-foot parapet wall on this building. Give us a rough number and hurry. So I've got this, I've got that. I'm going to go to Edit, Calculate Scale. The known linear is 192 feet. That's 192.00. The last 2 digits are inches, 192 feet, 0 inches. And step 2 is to click and drag from 0 to 192 and let go. My scale is 1 inch to 91.6 feet. I'm going to create a condition here that is a 3-foot parapet. Fill. And I'm going to set the wall height at 3 foot. I'm going to set the thickness to a large number here so we can see it because the scale is so large. And I'm going to start right here. Just going to do a couple of spots here. Sloppy. And there's 607 linear foot of 3-foot parapet off of Google Earth photo. Yes, sir. Oh.
No.
Now, I've got to qualify this as well. Do not do this unless you can get the photo as straight down as you can. If it's skewed, your scale goes with it. So be aware of that. I've checked this photo at our office physically. There's a little bridge right here over this little lake. And that bridge is 5.5 feet wide. I measured it personally with a scale, a tape. And I went down into this drawing and checked it, and I get just right at 5 foot 5 inches, 5 foot 6. So you can get fairly accurate. Now, I will tell you that the farther up the photo is, the accuracy also loses a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily use this for extremely risky bid. This would be an approximate. But in a certain circumstances, all of you have probably run into situations where you'd go, man, I need to get a number cranked out here quick, but I don't have any plans. Or you may be bidding site work, site utilities. What's it going to take? I've got to cut across that parking lot, and I need an approximate for security fence. That would work. And though you will not see this little marker down here for scale unless you, inside Google Earth, go to View, Scale Tool. I think that's the menu in their program. Then it pops that up based on the elevation that you're at. Okay, back to the program here. Now, I also did some takeoff in this project that is over here on the right. You'll notice dining area, admin, and prep. Now, bid areas can matter a lot. If you have clients or owners that say, how much are we paying, or what's in the dining area? Well, if I go to this takeoff tab, there's my dining area right there. There's all the quantities I need to know, from there down to here. This one, eventually. Right there. Show me the dining area, there it is. What do you want to do? In a minute, you're going to see this job in Quick Bid, and I can tell you exactly how much the dining area costs. How many man hours do I have to do that? The kitchen prep, there it is, right above it. That takeoff I just did a little while ago is falling into an unassigned. I didn't set the area first and then do the takeoff. That's why these are here. And then down here at the bottom is the admin bid area. Do I have anyone here that has the bid jobs that are phased? Phase 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Let's do one of those. This tab up here called zone. I'm going to create phase 1. It's like a pair of scissors. It could be a phase, it could be a critical path work, it could be material delivery number 1, 2, 3, 4. For those of you in here that might do concrete work, it could be pour number 1, pour 2, pour 3. In your case, if you're doing large site utilities, it could be station A to B, B to C. So I'm just gonna chop this bathroom area here out. Simply click the mouse and move. You should see now continuous blue blocks around it. What does that look like on the summary? I'm going to right click, turn everything off, but zone. And there it is, phase 1. So little tools in there that look somewhat unimportant. Zone, Hotlink, secondary view, JPEGs, GoogleEarth can all of a sudden give you a little bit more control on this, because again, if I get this part wrong, I could lose a lot of money. The one that's here in Kansas, who's been to it? Is it, am I right about the ceilings? Does it have?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Okay. You didn't bid it, you just went there to eat.
Yeah.
I'm not a sushi guy, but when I first saw this job come up, I had a job folder with some images in it. I was thinking, blue sushi, is that safe to eat? Okay, now, let's move on. I've got a signed contract. I'm out here working on this job now. Let's move to the next stage. All right, I've been talking for a week. I got guys out on the job site. I'm back at the office. My phone rings and it's my superintendent. Greg, we got problems on site. What is it? We got exposed columns out here over near the kitchen and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, what? Yeah, exposed columns. Help, help. What do we do? You know, do we wrap them? Do they get left? What? I'm sitting there going, what is he talking about? All he has to do is go click, send. It comes to me in an email. I pull that JPEG out of the email and put it in this thing. And hocus pocus, I'm now looking at the exposed studs or columns. That's live and in color from the site. Now, my little red arrows in my note is, I took it from there. But originally, you'd see that picture and you're going, oh, those exposed columns. No, we all love to write RFIs, I know that. But, do I have any architects in the room? Please say no. Yes, sir. Architects sometimes don't like RFIs, am I right? It depends on what they ask. It's okay. Now, here's my point. I had to do a lot of RFIs over my years, and I understand they're a necessary part of construction. I'm not saying anything bad here, but before the onset of any kind of software that would look at an electronic file, we would take a 40-pound roll of plans, break the lid off the copier, make a copy, then write out there, RFI, help, I need information, and then try to fax it in. And by the time it made it to the architect, it looked like Egyptian hieroglyphics. And we had to pay for a new lid on the copy machine. This is so much better because it's a photo of the real site conditions. And I took the text tool right up here, this little black letter A, and I wrote a note, RFI number 1. Did these columns get wrapped with indicating arrows? I can have that in front of the architect in about 30 seconds. It's good for me and it's good for him because there is less confusion about what is the issue here and where is it. All I have to do is right-click, copy current view. I'm going to jump out to my desktop, and I have an RFI template out here. There's one. That one. That's what it would look like. Dear Mr. Architect, I have exposed columns, and there it is, all wrapped up in a nice, neat RFI. Would you agree that would help? I have a testimony here. Amen. Hallelujah. So, this program becomes a communication tool, and this is one of 2 examples I'm going to show you. Nothing more than a JPEG photo from my superintendent into on-screen takeoff. I added some text, and on it goes. And there's one other thing here. No. Let's go back to the floor plan. And I'm going to go here. And I'm going to grab this guy. And I need to get the arrow. This little arrow is a movable object. It'll go anywhere I want it to. I'm going to put it right here. Change order pending, no work here until further notice. There's nothing worse, and it's happened to all of us. This kind of thing comes up. You've got a change order that's pending. There could be a change coming in this case, and your guys are right there on site today about to work, if not already in that spot. I need to stop them, and I need to stop them now. So no different than what you saw me do a while ago, but I'm going to take this little screen and set it a little bit centered here. Change order pending, no work here until further notice. I'm going to go to File, Print, Preview, and print to PDF. Because they've got this on the job site, they don't have this. Your foreman's probably handling some kind of iPod out there or a cell phone. He can't open a Windows-based program, and I can't send him an OST file because he doesn't have on-screen takeoff out there, but he has a device that will open up a PDF. So in less than a minute, I can save the PDF and send it to him. He opens up an email with the PDF, and he'll see that window right there. And so, yeah, hold the guys, don't frame over there by the cooler. Nightmare's over. They're not going to be having to take down work that you have to undo and wait on the change order. Print the PDF. It's that simple. If you don't have a PDF writer on your computer, they're easy to get. Adobe obviously is the most common. There is a product out on the market. It's a free download called Qt, C-U-T-E PDF. You can go to their website, download their PDF writer.
C-U-P-E?
C-U-T-E, QtPDF.com. It's actually a good converter too. If you need a good PDF converter.
There's a PDF 24, it's pretty good too.
Yeah. All right. So these little text tools up here, the arrow, all sorts of things. things. Pretty simple to understand. I happen to like this one right here, simply because I'm a big fan of making sure everybody knows where the issue is. It's a pretty handsome looking cloud there, if I may say so. Okay, now we're almost out of here. Let me check a couple of little things on my list. Ah, yes. There's this little guy right here, known as the legend. It's movable. It's resizable. I can change the font. I can change the color. I can go bold. I can italicize or underline. A lot of companies are printing this to a color printer and sending it out to the job site. It's a good coordination tool. I have been in sales for a long time, so I have clients or potential clients that said, prove to me that you are the guy for this job. I print one of these out with a legend and say, here, I got it. You see anything I missed? Then give me a copy. It's a sales tool, not just estimating. This legend, if you right click, you can ungroup it. Some people say, you know, that's too much stuff. I'm going to go up here and take a piece of it out. Let me go here. I'll bring some more of it. That one over here. It's a slice and dice if you need to. Some of you are bidding projects where there could be 20 or more conditions. The legend gets somewhat large. You can cut it if you need to and reposition it. If you change your mind, you right click and regroup it. And back it comes. I have a lot of stuff, that's a construction term, stuff, out here on the page. I'd like to get a better view of what I'm doing here. I'm going to turn on this layer tool. And watch the legend. I don't want to see any walls. Gone. Let's turn the walls back on. I don't want to see any paint. No paint. Notice the layers are connected to the legend as well. It's a visual tool, but it also impacts a lot of what you see or don't see, as well as don't print that big legend if you don't need to. It's just money coming out of your printer in color printering. Now, we've spent all this time and trouble, so to speak, to get this blue sushi to this stage. I've turned it in, it's waiting approval, but I'm ready to bid another one. So I don't want to have to go back through the whole process again and create those wall types that are going to be the same. It's a wall type 2, 3, or 4, same kind of flooring. So all I did was duplicate this one right here, right click, duplicate. And when I did, I named the duplicate Sushi Template. Because I'm going to reuse it. I'm going to go to the cover sheet and notice no drawings, none. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to right click on the template, duplicate it, rename this one Blue Sushi Kansas. You need another one here. I'm going to jump out to the desktop. And I should have a folder here. There it is. Got some plans. And before I go forward, one thing I failed to show you in the first one, let's go back there for just a second. A lot of people say, what in the world is this worksheet? It's nothing more than a live Excel worksheet. It's unit cost. Now I'm back in the original, and I'm like, okay, I need to throw a number in here real quick. Well, I've got some fairly reliable unit costs in here. Material, labor, and or sub. I dropped a few in here. I'm at $26,967 unit cost. So if they want a number right now, there's a pretty good ballpark figure. I'm using marked up unit pricing. So that's the selling price, $26,900. But when I duplicated this one and went to the new duplicate, there it is. I'm going to Settings tab. Close that layer screen. Go to a floor plan. Scale is 1/4 inch. And I'm going to go to the prep area. And I'm going to grab wall type 1 and do some takeoff. I'm just going to freehand a little bit here. You get the idea. Put some wall type 2 over here. And we'll get some ceramic tile in the bathrooms, etc. I'm going to paint a wall here and some more vinyl. I could go keep going, but the reason I wanted you to see this is my conditions are already here. They're the same ones from the original. It's a template. I didn't have to create those again. And even better, so did my unit prices. I'm at $3,400 so far. The spreadsheet is there priced out, waiting for me to put quantities in. If I kept going on the takeoff, I'd hopefully get close to another $26,000. So you build one, if you like it and you think you're going to reuse it, duplicate it, call it template, clear the plans out of it. It holds the bid areas, it holds the conditions, it holds the unit prices in the worksheet. They're all locked in. And I'd be willing to bet there are a few of you in here that do bid repeat clients. Outback Steakhouse, TGI Fridays, Blue Sushi. Am I right? Anybody? Repeats? No? Not necessarily. You do.
We do it.
What's
Dollar
example?
General,
Dollar General.
we do a ton of them.
All right, good. There's a good example of where that would possibly work. Now, Outback Steakhouse, TGI Fridays, things like that, yes, those are, you bid one, you almost bid them all. The floor plan can vary a little bit, but there's a lot of repetition in this kind of tenant fit-out stuff. However, I've seen templates used for job type, school, hospital, office, retail. Sometimes there's similarities in that as well. Warehouse, the Dollar Generals, they're probably very similar, but there's a slight difference, maybe in floor plans.
Not much,
Really?
if any, yeah. There's
Okay.
basically four different floor plans.
Floor plan.
Left hand, right hand, narrow front, wide front.
Okay.
yeah.
I used to do a lot of repetition with a chain cafeteria company in Texas called Luby's Cafeterias. And
We had them here for a while.
yeah, they're very, very similar in a lot of ways. And we used the template project on them. All right, now back to here. So, original, duplicate the template, rename it, and put the plans in it, and off we go. There are some filters in this program. There's 4 at the top: project name, estimator, job number, and job status. Now, this has been in the program for a while, but I have to throw up a warning here. The project name, I'm going to open another database temporarily here to give you a little better example of why I'm saying this. It has a longer list of bids in it. This one. Imagine you're looking at 30 or 40 jobs, or maybe 50 or 100. And you come in the morning, you look at this screen, and you go, where is my job? Where is that waterproofing project? Where is it? This filter right here for project name is key sensitive. If I type in the letter W, now it's just 3 projects, not 13 or 14, that have the letter W in it. If I hit A after the W, I'm down to 2. But if I hit some letter that does not belong, all my bids disappear. Now, I get a lot of phone calls on this one, people threatening to come burn down my house because OST just wiped out all their bids. And I'm like, wait, stop, don't do that. If you would look up at the top of your screen, tell me if you see a red X. They said, yeah, what about it? I go, click that for me, and boom, everything comes back. And then they're like, I love you, man. So that's a good filter if you understand how to use it. Just be careful up here you don't type the wrong combination because it clears the screen. The word estimator is just that. Some of you, and I need to ask this question because it gets misused often, are there any of you in here that would be or are using shared SQL database, SQL? You do? Okay. How many users in right now?
We've got licenses for six.
6?
6 licenses.
Shared on a SQL server?
Yes.
Okay. You may already have this set up, but in a shared environment, on-screen takeoff's a database-driven program. It can either be a Microsoft Access database or SQL. In an environment where you want to have multiple users in the same database at the same time, you must run on SQL. If you run on SQL, you then have what are known as access rights. You can restrict by Estimator who can go in and change any tables, review other people's bids. There are about 5 tables in this program, master tables, that can be adjusted by Estimator only if you're in a shared environment. Do y'all use that?
We actually use the program. Yeah, there's user profiles. Say this estimator's a starting level. They can only view excellent to intermediate.
Perfect.
They can change production rates.
Good.
The chief estimator can do whatever.
That's exactly what this was intended for.
Yeah.
I want everyone to know what's in here, though, because I get a lot of phone calls as well about people saying, hey, I want to share my database. I'm like, okay, great, but you have some restrictions. You do not ever want to share a Microsoft Access database, not recommended by Microsoft or us. It can overload the program and bog it down to the point where it can crash, and that usually happens right in the middle of a bid. Don't share Microsoft Access databases. The other thing is if I go to File Open here, is a column on the far right of this screen that tells you the size of the Microsoft Access database. This also gets overlooked a lot of times in our training process. We always try to come in here and look at your database for you to see if it's gotten to or over 40,000 kilobytes. A Microsoft Access database at or over 40,000 can become unstable. Doesn't mean it will, but the rate of issues in our tech support department for Microsoft databases access over 40K tends to start to climb. Speed, performance, lockups, freezes, things like that. It's easy to create a new database, or you can run a compact repair. That squeezes the database down and can reduce the size and buy you a little bit more time. And job status, pending, sold, lost, in progress, or complete. Those are pretty self-explanatory. Okay, back to our blue solution. So, full bid, template, new, double, duplicated, and then now we're going to quick bid. So here's the same job, but instead of using that little worksheet, we're going to dump it over to the other program called quick bid estimator. For those of you that do use Excel, I can take the quantities back out of here. Some of you like to say, hey, show me how to get this to Excel. Let me do that real quick. I can highlight this screen, copy, open Excel, and paste. Just that quick. Now, it's not formulated, but it's in Excel. From here, I can manipulate it within the screen or take the quantities out of here and put them in my working Excel. So you've got this option. You have this worksheet option, or the third one is to go quick bid. So here it is. All I did was tell this program, hey, connect this bid in OST to quick bid to a database, and this database is ASPE Kansas, and the job is over there, right here. Conditions tab. There's the same list you saw over there. Here's the multi-areas, dining, admin, prep. They're all there. This program is pretty basic as well. All it's asking for is what do you want to put in here? Prelude, main beams, cross tees, hanger wire, pin staples, pop rivets, labor to install the grid, and drop the top. It brought me the quantities and it brought me the bid area. I'm selling this ceiling for $3,300. or about $365 per square foot. Here's the drywall ceiling. Here's the 3 and 5/8 wall type 1, 213 linear feet, 9 feet high. All the parts and pieces, track studs, shots pins, layout. 213.9 feet. Let's go back over here for just a second.
So those assemblies you've set up ahead of time, obviously.
You can. I built that one. You may decide to build it from scratch or go into the assemblies and pop them in one click. But that wall type 1, I'm just going to put a little bit more out here. Just on the mouse. That's enough. I'll go to quick bid. Wall type 1 is now 240 feet. Instant update. It's reading live back and forth between the two programs. Insulation, sound caulk, spacing for studs, drywall screws, layers for how many sides I'm locking, finishing. Do I have any quick bid users here? Okay. Those of you who are seeing this for the first time, it's nothing more than a database-driven program. Now, databases come in all sizes, shapes, and colors. Concrete database, flooring, roofing, painting. This one is a little bit of a combo I put together for the fact that I've got flooring, painting, drywall, acoustic ceilings, drywall ceilings, and some carpet. So it's kind of a mixture. And that's okay because some of you that do bid interior finishes or tenant finishes, you may need to really spread it around and have a little bit of all this in the bid. Ceramic tile, grout, tile, and mastic, labor to grout and seal it. Here's a primer and an eggshell. 2-coat system. Nothing fancy going on. All I did was tell the program, I expect 300 square feet per gallon. It's a spray coat. And my favorite is wall covering. Any wall covering people in here? No. Okay. Wall covering is a crazy trade because you're taking this wall, it's, let's say the wainscot, 5 feet. I've got 100 feet of it at 5 feet high. How in the world do I get that to lineal yards? Because wall covering is handled by the lineal yard, vertical. And so I experimented with this in the program when I first came to work for On Center, and I realized, okay, it's an object that goes vertical the whole distance of the wall. So I basically told the program to break it into vertical 50-inch wide strips. And it worked. And a 54-inch commercial roll of wall covering, you get 50 inches of yield. So I said, okay, take the total length times the height, 50 inches on center, it figured 76 lineal yards. I got some real happy painters out there when they saw that. So a program like this has, if you look at this screen, it's nothing but Excel and color on steroids. That's all it is. It's A times B divided by C, on-center spacing, but if you see green, it's money. That's the nice thing. Anywhere I see in this program, if I see a number in green, it's always money, labor, or material. Here's some labor to hang door frames, and we're done with that part. Here's how it breaks it out. Division 7 insulation, 8 doors and hardware, 9 finishes, 95 for acoustic, 97 for wall covering, and 99 for paint. Now, quick bid sees this job worth $18,000. I'm in an open wage. Is Kansas open or you? Open. If for some reason I needed to switch this to something else, prevailing Davis-Bacon, OSIP, You set the job up, you set the program up to where it has variables in here by paid rate. And I'm going to right-click and watch the total. I'm going to switch this $18,000 job out to union. And we're at $21,000, simply because of the wages and the burden. So it's got a lot of quick functionality in it, if you need it. But yet the freedom to say, okay, well, wait a minute. I do this, where did it go? Wall covering. I don't do that, I sub it. So I don't want this at union rate, I want it at a sub rate. And I pay $2 a yard to a sub, and I'm done. Unit cost for the wall covering, the rest is performed by my own people. Equipment is fun. I can put scissor lifts, snorkel lifts in here by the day, week, or month. I'll drop one in here real quick. And I want to include months. Now I've got a little bit of extra money in here. The blue is 10% of my overall budget for equipment. This little graph right here doesn't look like much, a little pie chart. But for those of you who are like, why would I care what that shows? For those, any of you in the room that self-perform any labor, you've got your own forces doing it. It's called production labor. And you're wondering if you made a mistake in the bid. For those of you that might be doing a Division 9 work of any kind, national average for self-performed labor ratio is 60-40. 60% labor, 40% material. I've seen it time and time again. Over 20 years with On Center, I've seen a lot of bids. And that is a true average. Open wage, Division 9 work, 60-40 is the average. If you're a union contractor, it's closer to 70-30. Why does that matter? Quick bid, if you set it up and run with it, it's doing those calculations for you, and right now, I'm closer to 50-50 here. Maybe I'm okay, but maybe I have a problem. I'm low on the red. I should be more like 60% here. Where is that? Am I making a mistake here? Let me switch this back to open wage. Sorry. Now let's look at it. It's even worse. I wouldn't turn that bid in today, knowing what I know about ratios. And the reason that's important is that when I bring this up, a lot of people are going, I ask them, do you know what your ratio is? And they go, nah, I think I do. If you don't know and you are using self-performed hourly labor, you need to find out. Because whether you use quick bid or not, having a standardized national ratio of labor to material is something you want to use as a guideline, because right now I'm upside down. Knowing what I know and I believe within, this is a reliable source, so where is the mistake? It's either here in production, I'm running too hot, and that's probably one of them right there. I'm spraying door frames at 1,500, that's way off. That should be about 65%. Another one that's a little hot. All I'm doing is looking at labor rates to try to figure out if I'm set up something in here too fast. And then I'm going to go to the payroll tab. I got a vinyl hanger in here. That's really the sub guy. I'm not going to worry about him. But this guy is definitely too low. That should be about 20. Yeah. Ceiling hanger, 25. So all I'm doing is repairing some incorrect wages. That one's okay. This one's too low. And I'll say that's it. Getting closer, 50-50, I might be okay with, but it was at 30-something% long ago. And then the last thing here, guys, and I'll let y'all out of here, is this. If I can get the screen. Where's the scroll bar? There it is. One of the risks of projector usage is resolution. I'm trying to get over here to this total, big total. Let's try this again. Bid total, $23,681. I apologize because you can't see it over here. It's actually on the screen, but the problem is for those of you that do bid, design build, negotiated, anything like that where you're liable to get a phone call and somebody says, hey, come on, I bet you can do this job for $18,000. Or we need the budget at $18,000. Or what's your best number? One thing about this screenwriting in here, if I try to write the job down for less than raw cost, the program quickly says no. It stops you. Watch. I'm going to see if it'll work here. I'm going to type in 18,000 and hope it takes it. And hit enter. It stopped me at 22.6. It took the profit to 0 and held on to the overhead. Amen, hallelujah. My bottom number is 22.6. I can't even get down to 18,000. The program won't let me. That's what I call blood pressure button for sure. Built-in safety factor that will not let you sell it for less than raw cost. That's a good tool to have. So, Blue Sushi, photos from actual projects or existing locations, because the peace of mind from being able to say, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. So I've got to remember, I've got it scaffold up in there, and I've got to deal with existing structure. And when are we going to end up? What's the best time to go in there and do that? What's the entry look like again? Oh yeah, I got a reception area, painted concrete, a lot of signage, painted structure. If you're the electrician, look at those lights up there. They're all over the place. And haven't helped the guy that's got to put this stuff up. Rather than just depending on images, a set of blueprints, this gives you a whole more comfort level, I think it should. And it's nothing more than a takeoff program that can open up a JPEG or a GoogleEarth photo. Any questions? Anybody? Tips and tricks. You guys know where we're at here out in front. If you have any questions or you think of something later, you're free to email me or Katie, and we'll be more than happy to jump online and help you with your program if you're using it, or tell you more about any of this stuff.